Every project has many people who are interested or impacted by it. These are called stakeholders. Stakeholders can influence the success or failure of your acquisition. You can help ensure the success of your project by identifying your primary stakeholders and understanding what role each will play in your acquisition. What is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is an individual or group with an interest in the success of an organization in delivering intended results and maintaining the viability of the organization's products and services. Stakeholders influence programs, products, and services. A means for understanding the stakeholders on a given project is called a stakeholder analysis. So, how do you conduct a stakeholder analysis? The first step is to identify who are your stakeholders. Who will be affected by the acquisition? Who will have influence on the acquisition? Who has interest in the success of the project? In other words, anyone who has a dog in the fight is a stakeholder. To assist with grouping and prioritizing your stakeholders, we use a simple sphere of influence chart. The objective is to identify stakeholders as either external, governance, or internal. Internal stakeholders are usually within your organization. They could be organization leadership, customers or process owners, your budget community, and your acquisition team. Governance stakeholders are generally the gatekeepers, such as those organizations responsible for granting approvals for requirements documents, acquisition strategies, permits, etc. External stakeholders are often outside of your immediate organization. They could be at higher headquarters, or your customers' headquarters, or other government agencies, or the industry that will be supporting your action. Categorizing each stakeholder will help you gauge their potential influence on your acquisition. After you have identified and categorized your stakeholders, the next step is to analyze each of them and determine their importance and influence on your acquisition. We suggest using a power grid similar to the one shown below. Determine the influence of the stakeholders and their ability to impact your acquisition in terms of approvals, decision-making, funding, etc. A key objective of this step is to establish who the decision makers are. Next, decide the importance or impact your acquisition will have on the stakeholder, such as your key customers, leadership, or the commanders responsible for the mission that your acquisition supports. This is not an exact science, so use your best judgment to determine where your stakeholders fit in relationship to these scales. This analysis will identify your primary and key secondary stakeholders. To complete the analysis, interview your primary and key secondary stakeholders to understand their concerns or issues with your requirement. How do they define success for your effort? Use a separate form for each stakeholder similar to this template. Your goal is to understand their expectations and concerns regarding performance, cost, or quality of your acquisition requirement. This knowledge will help in shaping your performance requirement and acquisition strategy. How will you build and maintain a relationship with these stakeholders? How can they help you overcome roadblocks that may occur during acquisition process? You should develop a strategy for working with and communicating with each of these key stakeholders. Stakeholder analysis plays an important role in helping you develop and shape your communication plan and your requirement.